guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing live UCAT questions. To be more specific, we're going to be doing just decision making today, but it's obviously going to be live. I've got the questions in front of me from the official UCAT question bank, so I'm going to be giving an attempt at those, giving it my best shot. I haven't seen these questions before yet, so we're going to find out how we do, but I want you guys to have a go at the question when it comes up on the screen before you watch me do the answer, just so that you can test yourself whether you can do it yourself first, and then if you can't, then you just watch how I did it and just compare your methods. I won't be doing it under time pressure just because I want to think out loud and talk to you guys about how I go through the question. I'm going to talk about it really methodically and as clear as I can, but decision making is one of the hardest questions to be straightforward with. So also for ease of filming, I'm going to be using a manual calculator, but just to reiterate, in the real thing you'll have an online calculator where you've got to use a keypad to insert your numbers. For those of you who don't know, I sat the UCAT last summer and I applied to med school in the academic year just gone, and I've got a place at UCL starting in September given I get my A-level results in August, but hopefully the questions that I'm going to be doing today will have a good variety of the types that come up. I'll drop like a timestamp list here if you want to skip to anything in particular that you want to work on, or just anything that you want to see in general. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So our first question is the yes or no drag questions. I'm going to read the question, write down what I can from it, and I'm going to think out loud basically. All tourists who like fishing also like sailing. All the tourists at the resort were Europeans. No tourists at the resort liked trekking. A few tourists at the resort liked fishing. All the tourists at the resort liked photography. Okay, let's move on to the conclusions. All Europeans like sailing. This cannot conclude because it says all Europeans, and we've only been told about Europeans that live at this resort. So we can't say that for all Europeans, so the answer to that one's going to be no. Some Europeans like fishing. Yes, because all of the tourists at this resort are Europeans, and it says a few of these tourists like fishing, so therefore I can conclude that some Europeans like fishing. Some Europeans do not like trekking. Once again, yes, that does conclude because all the tourists at the resort are European, and it says that no tourists at the resort like trekking, hence I conclude that some Europeans do not like trekking. The tourists at the resort who liked fishing also liked photography. So this once again does follow because it says a few tourists at the resort liked fishing, and it also says that all the tourists at the resort liked photography. Hence, yes, once again we can conclude that. And finally, all the tourists at the resort who liked photography also liked sailing. So the first sentence, it says all the tourists who like fishing like sailing, but in order to like sailing you've got to like fishing. So it says all of the tourists who liked photography, and it says that all tourists like photography, but it only says that some like fishing, and if only some like fishing, then only some like sailing. Hence, I can't say that all of them like sailing, so that's a no. I know I probably went through that a bit quickly. The UCAT is all about timing, and I didn't even have to look at my notes for that one. This one is one of the easier yes, no drag ones because the information itself is pretty short. Some people like to use Venn diagrams to help them visualise the information. I just like to use arrows, and really if I don't need to draw a diagram then I won't waste time doing it. If I just understand it when I read it, then I'll just go from there. Okay, so the second question is also a yes no question, so I'm going to read it and do the same thing basically. It is a useful and trendy product, but as far as the quality is concerned, it is a substandard product because it is made in a factory that uses cheap raw materials. Okay, so that's all the information I'm given, not too much. So just to summarise, we're talking about one item that is useful and trendy. However, the quality of it is substandard because it's made in a factory and because factory uses cheap and raw materials. So, first one, some substandard products are useful and trendy. Yes, because the product that we're talking about is useful and trendy, however they've also said that it's substandard, so yes. All useful and trendy products are substandard. No, because we're only talking about one item because at the start it says it, so I can only conclude for just one product. I can't just say for everything. Factories that use cheap raw materials produce substandard products. This does conclude, because if you read it carefully, it says it is a substandard product because it's made in a factory. That implies that if it wasn't made in a factory, it wouldn't be substandard, if that makes sense. All factories that use cheap raw materials produce useful and trendy products. No, we can't conclude that once again, because we're talking about just one, and it might just be this one product that ends up useful and trendy, and other things might not be useful. Factories that use expensive raw materials do not produce useful and trendy products. So first of all, we don't have any information about anything expensive, so there's no way we can conclude that. So a tip here is if it's saying a conclusion about something that's not even mentioned in the passage, you can't assume anything. Third question is another one of the yes/no questions, so let's read it. None who embrace the downtrodden are guilty of following dogmas. Few who are guilty of following dogmas are truly spiritual. Okay, that's the only information I'm given, so once again, pretty straightforward one. Some people like to use Venn diagram again, but I'm just going to stick to my diagram. Few who are truly spiritual embrace the downtrodden. So this is not going to be right, because it says those who are truly spiritual are going to be those who are guilty of following dogmas. And if you are following a dogma, you're not going to be embracing the downtrodden. So that's going to be no. Second statement is none who are truly spiritual embrace the downtrodden. Okay, this is again not going to be true for the same reasons as the one above, because it says none at the start, not a few or some. Some who are guilty of following dogmas are not truly spiritual. This is going to be yes, because those who follow the dogmas, it only says that a few of them are truly spiritual, so not all of them, so some of them aren't going to be truly spiritual. Fourth statement, if she is guilty of following dogmas, she does not embrace the downtrodden. This will be true, because once again, if she is following dogmas, then she's not going to be embracing the downtrodden, because in the first sentence it says none who embrace the downtrodden are going to be following dogmas. So if she does, it obviously means that she's not embracing them. And finally, anyone who is truly spiritual and is guilty of following dogmas would embrace the downtrodden. The answer to this one's going to be no, because it says that those who are truly spiritual, few of them are guilty of following the dogmas, and those who are following dogmas are not going to be embracing the downtrodden, so we can't just put all three of the categories together. So it's going to be no, no, yes, yes, no. Question 4 is going to be one of the problem solving questions, so let's read it. A youth orchestra of 39 members is drawn from 4 secondary schools, K, L, M and N. A school L has 18 members. I'm just going to write down those letters. K, L, M, N. School L has 18 members. Okay, so I'm going to write that next to L. 18. And it is twice the size of K. That means that K has 9. And it's 3 times the size of M. So that means that M has 6. And it's 3 times the size of N, so N has 6 as well. I'm just going to quickly add them up just to make sure that they equal 39. And they do, 39 indeed. N has as many boys as K has girls, while M has equal girls and equal boys, and L has as many boys as K. So let's, I'm going to write another column for boys and girls. So we've been told that M has equal girls and boys, and we know that the number of students in M is 6, so that means that we have 3 and 3. Oh right, in the actual question, we've got to read the actual question, sorry. How many of the 4 secondary schools are the same sex schools? Okay, that symbolises that I should probably be looking out for some that have 0 boys or 0 girls. And the final part of information of just above there, it says there are 6 girls from N in the orchestra. So that tells me that N is actually in fact an all-girls school, because remember N has 3 times as few pupils as L, and L has 18. So if L has 18 pupils, N has 6 pupils, and if all 6 of those are girls and they're all from N, if that makes sense. So because that says there that 6 girls are from N, and we found that the total number of pupils in the orchestra from N is only 6. So that tells us that there are 0 boys in N. And then in the third line of the question it says that N has as many boys as K has girls. So that tells me that K has no girls in it. I hope you're with me, this is quite confusing. And hence, because I know that there are 0 girls in K, it tells me it's an all boys school, and therefore it must mean that there are 9 boys in school K. And then it says that L has as many boys as K, and I know that K has 9 boys, and there are 18 in L altogether, hence that means that there are 9 boys and 9 girls, because there's 9 boys in K. That was super confusing, I'm really sorry. I'll put a little diagram up to show you my working out. So the answer to this is that there's only 2 schools that are same sex, and that's going to be school K and school N. Question 5 is another problem solving one, so let's read it. In a class of 10 pupils, the average number of detentions per pupil in the spring term is 4.4. 4 pupils get 4 detentions, 2 get 2 and each, and 1 pupil is just given 1 out of the remaining pupils. Marie gets 2 more than Charlie and 1 fewer than Robert. Okay, let's start with the average number. So we know that to work out the average, you've got to have the total number of detentions divided by the total number of people in the class. So we know the number of pupils is 10 and the average is 4.4. So we can then work out that the total number of detentions given out in the spring term is 44, because 4.4 times 10 is 44. 4 pupils get 4 detentions each, so that times us out. 4 times 4 is 16. 2 pupils get 2 detentions each, that will equal 4. Add that up, makes 20. 1 pupil is given just 1 detention, so add that on, makes 21 so far. So out of the 44 we've collected 21 hence so far. So I'm just going to do a quick calculation of 44 minus 21 on my calculator, and that gives me 23. That shows me that in the remaining 3 pupils, among them they've only got 23. Among the 3 pupils they've got 23. So now I've got names for the final 3. Marie gets 2 more than Charlie, 1 fewer than Robert. So in this case I'm going to be using algebra, M, C, R respectively for their names. So I'm going to give Charlie X because he's the one that we're comparing to for Marie first. So Marie gets 2 more detentions than Charlie. So if Charlie got X, that means Marie would have got X plus 2. And Robert, she has 1 fewer than Robert, so that means that Robert is going to be X plus 3. Now I have 3 expressions. I've got X plus 2 for Marie, Charlie is X, and Robert is X plus 3. Now I'm going to add all of these algebraic expressions together to give me 3x plus 5. And I know that 3x plus 5 gives them a total of 23 detentions. So if I just work that out, just solve the equation, I get x is equal to 6. But what I have to remember is that x is only Charlie's, and the question itself asked me how many detentions does Robert receive. And so the answer is going to be 6 plus 3, because Robert's expression is x plus 3. So the answer is going to be Robert has 9 detentions. Question 6. A company makes repairs to electrical wing, fresh water pipes, fibre optic cables and sewage pipes. These repairs are made in blocks A, B, C or D, not in any order, and each of these blocks is situated in either, so only one of them, can only be one, north, south, east or west. The electrical wiring is neither in block A. So let's just start with the table. The best thing for these kind of questions is write a table and make sure you know what each row is, and write possibilities so you can cross them out as you go. So I've got A, B, C and D. The electrical wiring problem is not in block A, nor is in the west region. The sewage pipe problem is in block B, and the fibre optic cable repair is scheduled in the southern region. So I know that I can put the optic, fibre and south together, because they go together, and I can put that this in block B we have sewage pipe problems, so we know what one of them is. I can also now know that the electrical wiring is only going to be in either C or D because it's not in A. Block C is present in the east region, while block A is not present in the southern region. So this tells me that block C, we're in the east, hence block A is not in the south. That means it can either be north or west, so I'm just going to put N/W. Obviously you're going to realise that you're going to have a few gaps in the table. It's just going to be the way it is. You frankly don't need all the information. So I've got to keep my options open, and I'm going to match them up to what's in the answers. So this is what I'm going to guess at the moment. They could be the other way around. We look at the answer options, we can then use process of elimination to see which it is and which it isn't. So answer A, sewage work is happening in block A, which is situated in the western region. So we know that A is in the western region, or could be in the western region, it could be north or west. However, we're already told that sewage is in block B, so that can't be right. B, answer option B, fibre optic cable is happening in block D, which is situated in the southern region. So yes, that is a possibility so far, so I'm going to keep that in mind, B, because we haven't been told exactly where fibre optic is, but we do know that southern option is still free. Oh, so we do know that optic does go with southern, and then there's a space for it in D. Electrical wiring work is happening in block C, yes, which is situated in the northern region. No, because we're told that C is present in the eastern region on the final line of the question. And answer option D is fresh water pipe repair work is happening in block A, which is situated in the east region. Once again, no, because east, we've been told, is block C, so it can't be answer option D. So as you can tell here, that with process of elimination, the answer option is B. I'm going to go for B because although I don't have everything filled out in my table, using the answer options that they've given me pretty clear-cut ones, that if you just read the question back, you didn't have to fill out the whole table in order to answer that question. So sometimes in the UCAT you don't have to find all the answers, just find the answer to the question and move on, because you don't have time to be solving an entire case. Okay. Question 7 is one of those questions when it's yes, no questions, like they give you a statement. Should breaching copyrights or patents, such as copying a video or a medicine, be a civil offence for which compensation must be paid rather than a criminal offence leading to a fine or prison sentence? The top tip for these kind of questions is you've got to read the question really carefully, and the answer is going to have to address all parts of the question. So if the answer that they've given is sort of a bit wholly, like it only addresses some of it, then it's probably not going to be the right answer. So look for the answer that addresses everything that's could be a possibility within the question that they've given you. So answer option A, yes, most breaches are harmless and no one is hurt, so it would be excessive if the individuals received a criminal record. Obviously this is going to be wrong, it's just unlawful, and we've got to be realistic here, like copyright is copywriting. Yes, failing to pay fees to a copyright or patent holder whose work has been incorporated into a product without permission is undesirable, but not as serious as a criminal offence. So here it says undesirable, and it says it's not a criminal offence, so it's kind of downplaying it a little bit, and it's not quite giving it, how would I explain it? It's just a weak argument, and weak arguments are often not the right answer. Part C, no making or selling imitation products based on a patent design without permission is theft, which is crime. It deceives purchasers and the patent holder of income. This is a strong argument. It has addressed the fact breaching copyrights is wrong. It has addressed that it's possibly an offence because it says theft is crime, and it's addressed the fact that compensation regarding the fact it says holder income. Okay, so that's my most likely answer so far. And finally, part D is no making imitation products is criminal because the purchaser is not getting the goods expected. This has no real link to the actual copyrights, like that's not the question, to be honest. So the answer is going to be D. It's the most detailed and it's the one that addresses every part of this question. Question 8 is another kind of question like that. So should there be laws in place to prevent social networks from allowing children under the age of 13 from signing up? Yes. Signing up for social media websites exposes children to the dangers of the internet. Vague. Yes, social media companies should be held to account for the activity of their users, and legislation concerning lower age limits enables this accountability. Very fancy words, not much actually being said here, but I'll keep it in mind, so I'll write that as an option. C, no children are best safeguarded by schools educating children on the dangers of the internet. Possibly, but it doesn't refer to ages and not kind of answering the question. D, age limiting the use of social media does not help children in the long term. Responsible adults must educate children and make decisions that are right for each child. That sounds like a better argument to me. And it refers to age limiting, so that's better than C and A. So for me, the answers are going to be between B and D, but I'm going to pick D because personally I think that's a better argument, and actually in comparison to B just has lots of fancy words, and it's actually saying that it's not talking about how we can resolve the issue, but just rather than, it just says pointing fingers rather than actually trying to solve the issue. Question 9. Of the 150 aquariums across the US state, 60 had yellow crabs, 43 had white dolphins, 81 had starfish. Already I can tell this is a Venn diagram question. There's 3 variables, so I'm going to draw a 3-circle Venn diagram. I've got my 3 variables, so C for crabs, D for dolphins, S for starfish. I don't need to be making it detailed or neat. So I have my totals for each circle, so I'm going to write those next to my heading. So I've got 20 had only starfish and white dolphins, 12 had only dolphins and crabs in yellow, only starfish and yellow crabs. So that's the second layer of my Venn diagram. If I call the first layer the bang in the middle, which all 3 variables connect with, and the outer layer obviously the outer layer. So the second layer I've got 20 overlapping starfish and dolphins, 12 overlapping D and C, 9 overlapping S and C, and 7 have all 3. So this gives me enough information to work out the outer circles. So I'm going to use my calculator for that. Okay, so now I've completed my diagram, and the actual question is how many aquariums had none of these 3. So I've got to just subtract 150. It says that there's only 150 aquariums in the whole state, minus whatever my Venn diagram adds up to, and it's going to add up to, my Venn diagram adds up to 129. So I'm just going to minus that from 150, gives me 21 as my answer, and that is answer option B. Question 10. This is one of the shape Venn diagrams, sort of just the shape diagrams questions, so you've got to really read the question and look at every number at the shape. My tip for this is going to be read all of the statements first, then work through each one trying to prove whether it's true or false, and when you meet the true one, just move on. Like, you can check the others, but honestly if you're really pushing for time you don't need to. Centre A has 5 less employees on social media 3 than Centre B. Okay, so Centre A is the oval looking one, and we're talking about social media number 3, which is the rectangular box. So that is 11 add 8, I can see overlapping, so that gives me an answer of 19 in A, and in B it's the pentagon overlapping once again with the rectangle, which is 24 add 8 at 25. I'm going to use my calculator. 24 add 8, 25 is 57. Although I can tell already that it's over 5, I'm going to work out the calculation because it might come in useful for following questions. So this is an important tip for the UCAT. Whatever calculations that you work out, just jot down the number that comes out, because once again you're not going to be able to use the answer button and you can't go back on your previous calculations. You don't want to waste time doing the same thing twice. Answer option B, Centre B has more employees active on social media 3 than Centre A. Well, isn't that what we just did? Yeah, here it is. So 57 to 19, that shows me already that B has way more than A. So that's my correct answer, right? Yeah. Question 11, I think. So in a hospitality company that runs a resort, employees are allocated leave per month. The resort is open throughout the year. Number of days of leave allocated per month to Salma Mirariki, I'm just going to call them SMR, who work in the same department are 4, 6, 5 respectively. So SMR 4, 6, 5, okay. The rest of the information so far seems pretty useless to me. All of the employees have to take leave on different dates. Okay, that means they can't overlap. Is there more than a 50% probability that a guest will meet all 3 employees on a given day of a month? Okay. So first thing for me to do is work out the number of days in total that altogether have of them of allocated leave days. So that is 4 add 6 add 5, you can probably do this in your head, 15 days. I'm just going to quickly read the answer options. Yes, but only in months for 31 days. Yes, for 50% in all months. No, probability most months. Okay, so I think the thing that they're asking me to look at is the number of days per month, which is 31 days. And the number of total days is 15. So if it's, and the question is more than a 50% probability, hence that tells me that the answer option A is going to be correct because I've got 15 total number of days leave for all 3 members, and 15 in 30 days only gives me a 50% chance. So the answer option A, 15 out of 31 days, will give me a higher probability than 50%. So that tells me the answer option A is correct. Question 12. Diana has a box containing 6 pairs of earrings that are identical in every way except colour. There are 3 red pairs and 3 blue pairs. Diana has to draw a certain number of earrings randomly so that she has at least 1 pair of red earrings and 1 pair of blue earrings. Okay, so I'm just going to note that it says that pairs. So I know that there are 3 red pairs and 3 blue pairs. This tells me altogether there are going to be 6 red earrings altogether because we have 2 ears, and 6 blue earrings altogether, giving me a total number of earrings up to 12. The question is, should Diana draw 8 earrings randomly in order to achieve this, in order to achieve at least 1 red and 1 blue pair? So if we think about this logically, we know that the total number of red altogether is going to be 6. So if, say for example, that she did pick all 6 red earrings, and because she's drawing 8, the remainder 2 would have to be blue. This then tells me that the remaining 2 are going to make up the blue pair, and any 2 of the red that she's picked out is going to make up a pair. And the same applies vice versa, so that does tell me that yes, this is true. So I'm just going to read the answer options just to make sure. So I know that I'm choosing between A and B. So yes, she can get more than 1 pair of each colour, or 3 pairs of one colour and 1 pair of another colour. That's basically what I just said. Yes, she will have a 100% chance of picking 3 red pairs and 1 blue pair. No, because she doesn't have a 100% of chance of doing that. We're just saying for instance, okay? So the answer is going to be A. Question 13, the final question I'm going to do. Jeremy's music player randomly selects a song for him to listen to. The music player has 8 rock songs, 5 classical and 2 folk. Will Jeremy increase the chance of listening to a classical song if he deletes 1 song of each of the 3 genres from his music player? Okay, so I'm just going to work through this methodically. So I know that we have 8 rock, 5 classical and 2 folk. Let's just make them up to a total. 8, 5 and 2 gives me 15. So the probability of him listening to a classical song to start with is going to be 5 out of 15. This gives me a percentage of around 33%. A third is my probability of him listening to classical prior to deleting songs. So if he deletes 1 from each, that would leave me with 7 rock, 4 classical and 1 folk. Adding up this total gives me 12, and now I only have 4 classical songs remaining, and this 4 out of 12 gives me a percentage once again of a third, so 33% again. So the answer is going to be no. The probability of them not listening, probability is going to remain the same. So let's just read answer options C and D, because those are the 2 that we're choosing from. No, the chance of selecting a classical song decreases when the total number of songs decrease. No, the chance of selecting a classical song remains the same when one song, so the answer is D. Okay guys, that brings me to the end of my video. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope that has proved useful, just to think about how I go through the process of answering the decision making questions, because they can be really difficult. Just a quick note, questions that I've done I did answer correctly, so if you had any doubts on how I got there, if I didn't explain anything clearly, don't forget to just comment and I'll get back to you guys. But my final tips are just going to be, try to stay focused throughout the whole section, because this can feel like the longest section. You've just got to work methodically through each question, jot down all of the important pieces of information, use diagrams all the time, use your calculator only when it's necessary. Remember to read the answer options and use the process of elimination. With practice and with time conditions, the more you do it, the better you will become. So just keep practicing and I'm sure you guys will get it. But thank you once again for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment if you have a question, and hopefully we'll be doing some more videos soon.